You're listening to Bigfoot Society, and I'm Jeremiah Byron. In this show, we go beyond the campfire stories to bring you firsthand encounters from people who say they've seen something impossible, from backwoods trails and remote mountain haulers to quiet farms and crowded highways. The stories come from everywhere, and each one leaves us with more questions than answers. These are the voices of the people who've lived it, so settle in, because today you'll hear another account that just might change the way you see the woods forever. So stay with us. Today we're doing a special episode in memoriam for Mr. Scott Violette, who passed away suddenly, very recently. This episode was recorded back episode 715. I never got to meet Scott in person, in real life, but I was able to talk with him, as I've talked to many others, over the internet. Scott was a guy that I learned a ton from just in the hour we were able to talk together. In my opinion, he had years left of research that could have happened, and he's gone far too soon, and it was a real tragedy. Scott, this one's for you. I'll also have the link to his wife Hannah's GoFundMe that is currently active. And if you can donate to that, please, as it helps her get back on her feet. If you can donate anything, I know that she would greatly appreciate it, and Scott would greatly appreciate it as well. But thank you again for listening. And again, this episode is in remembrance of Scott Violette. You've got the privilege of talking to Mr. Scott Violette today. You may know him from the group Squatch America. I'm going to read a few things about Scott. He was nice enough to provide here. He's a Native American cultural anthropologist and the founder of Squatch America, which is a national Bigfoot research group. He's a Desert Storm Army veteran and travels the U.S. full-time in an RV with his wife, Hannah, investigating cryptid sightings and exploring Native American rock art related to Bigfoot lore. And of course, they have their YouTube channel, which we'll probably talk about later. And it's a mix of science, history, and hands-on research. Welcome to the show, Scott. How's it going, sir?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I do like to start out when I have interviews with individuals such as yourself that are really have been into it for a while. I always like to know, what was it that first got you into the Sasquatch community?
It goes back quite a ways, actually. I was actually born in Eastern Oregon, and I grew up in the Blue Mountains, which is heavily trafficked by Bigfoot and Bigfoot enthusiasts. I don't know if people are familiar with the Freeman film from the early 90s. I grew up 15 miles from where that film was taken. Bigfoot folklore was pretty common in the area I grew up in. But as a teenager, I really didn't pay too much attention to it. I thought, oh, that's cool deal. But later on in life, after I became a Native American culture anthropologist and started working with tribes all over the nation, I started to notice a common theme. Every tribe in the nation has a name for these things, and they all have legends and stories and history. And particularly, my expertise in Native American culture is pictographs. I learned how to read them, all 4 different languages of them. And when I started finding stories about Bigfoot on rocks that are hundreds of years old, that started to pique my interest a little bit. So after I retired, I thought, you know what, I'm going to look into this Bigfoot legend a little bit closer. And as I started looking into it, and I set up a Facebook page to try to get stories from people locally. As soon as I did that, I got hundreds and hundreds of stories from people in the area. And I'm like, wow, there's a lot more to this than I originally thought. And then I started delving in and I got hooked. So I've been there ever since.
That's awesome. In this whole subject, it does not, I don't think it takes much to hook you. If it gets you just right, you're in it for the long haul. So you made a local group that was local to the Blue Mountain area, you were saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
You got hundreds of that. You must have gotten some really wild stuff from that area.
Oh, yeah. And we still do today. We still get people telling us stories and finding things. It's amazing.
So do you think that area is definitely a active hotspot in the Blue Mountains current day?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We find footprints in that area almost every year. What a lot of people don't realize about the Blue Mountains of Eastern Oregon, it has, what is it, 26,000 square miles of forest that nobody lives in. That's a plus. But the upper end of the Blue Mountain Range runs into Idaho and into Montana and connects with the Rocky Mountains. And then the southern part goes south through the Ochoco Mountains and connects with the Cascades, which goes south into Northern California and then into the Sierras. It's a natural corridor between the two mountain ranges. So I think if they do migrate or move from time to time, this is the corridor they take. We're basically a hallway to get from the Rockies to the Cascades. And so there is a lot of activity there. And I think as they move is where we're finding Bigfoot in that area all the time.
That just opened my mind to a way I have not looked at the map before. And it totally could. Yeah, it's a corridor from the Rockies. That's amazing. How does one become a Native American cultural anthropologist?
Lots of college and bills. Student loans. Let's count student loans. Basically, what I originally went into college, and I had a career in the military, and then when I got out, I used my GI Bill to pay for it. So that helped a lot. But what got me interested in it is I had originally went into college just to go into anthropology in general. And I didn't really have a direction in anthropology. It's a huge field, and there's a lot of directions you can go in it. But luckily, the college I went to, the professor there was really into the Native American side of things. And our college actually had an archaeological day on a Native American village that's 200 years old that we were sifting through. And it was part of our project every year to go work on this. And when I started seeing the pictographs and stuff in the area, I thought, wow, that is really cool. I really love the depictions. Plus, my professor was also into Egyptian folklore. So we actually had a whole course we had to do on Egyptian pictographs and stories. In fact, at the end of the year, one of our finals was all you have to do is write your name on a piece of paper and turn it in. And if I can read your name in Egyptian hieroglyphics, you pass. So we actually had to learn that detail of the Egyptian language. So when I started comparing that to the Native American language on rocks, I started discovering that, this is easier to read than I thought it was. A lot of 90% of Native American pictographs are basically directions. Go up this mountain, there's deer. The rivers to the south, stuff like that. And when I started reading those, I'm like, this is really cool. So I said, I want to learn this language. So that's what I got into it. To get your degree, to start taking classes, I guess, I'd have to say. And then you'll find the direction in anthropology you'll like to go.
Has there been an example of a pictograph that you've been able to see over the years that you feel is just a really good example of a Sasquatch pictograph?
Yeah, I've got 3 of them actually that I've found over the years. Well, 4 technically, but one of them is a secret deal and the tribe doesn't want it to be revealed. So I don't talk about that one too much, but there's the famous one that was originally found years ago in California in Porterville. There's a life-size, 8-foot-tall pictograph of a Bigfoot family, and it tells a story. And what's really interesting about that one is a lot of people's talked about that pictograph for a long time, but when I started looking at it, I noticed something I don't think anybody else had noticed. And there's 2 symbols on the bottom of the pictograph. There's like a story of a hunting party, hunting animals, deer, near a spring, and they found footprints near the spring, and they had an encounter with a Bigfoot family, mother, father, and baby. But down at the bottom, of it. It said the hunting party, it had symbols of an ancient weapon called an atlatl. And those atlatl symbols are very interesting because the tribe in that area have actually stopped using or transitioned to using bows from atlatl. Atlatls are like a spear chucking device. And they had transitioned to using bows almost 2,500 to 3,000 years ago. So if this pictograph still had atlatls on it, that dates it a little bit. So I can say that's possibly 2,500 to 3,000 years old picture of a Bigfoot. It's probably the first one we've ever seen. And then I found two more with the exact same symbols on it. And the symbol for a Bigfoot is a creature with short legs, long body, long arms. But the arms are always, you see it like out from the shoulders with the arms hanging down from the elbows. And that is to symbolize the size of this thing. It's big. It's like this wide. It's huge. And then they never have a neck, and it's in the head, is roundish on top, but there's always a kind of a V from the head, which shows there's no neck. And which looks like what Bigfoot would look like to people today. They have a longer torso than we do, the long arms, the huge bodies. So this depiction showing short legs and long arms is telling you that it's not the same proportion as a human. So I have found three of them. There's two in Oregon that I have found and two in California. The one I can't talk about is in California. The three main ones are two in Oregon and one in California.
So I want to clarify something. When you say the Porterville pictographs, is that the same one as the Tule River pictographs?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's just near the town.
So you have actually, I didn't even think of that possibility. So you've actually found pictographs of Sasquatch yourself in your exploration?
Yeah, two.
Oh my goodness.
I have. A lot of people walk by pictographs and petroglyphs not even noticing that they're there. And a lot of times, like moss on rocks will cover them up and things. But if you know what to look for, and I've been doing this for quite a few years, I start noticing them almost immediately when I walk into places. And there's one in the Blue Mountains of Eastern Oregon, by the way, that it has three symbols on it. One of them's the Bigfoot symbol. One of them's a stickman symbol. And the stickman symbol, I might add, is on the same one as the Tule River one. They have stickmen on it too. The stickman is a Native American danger symbol, basically. They don't even talk about them. If this is on a pictograph, it means danger. So it's got a Bigfoot, it's got a pictograph of a stickman, and it has a pictograph of a circle with a line going into the top of the circle and coming out the bottom of the circle, but not through the circle. And what that is, a directional symbol from Native American folklore. It means go up the trail, go around the valley, because it's right there pointing out a valley. Go around the valley, don't go through the valley, danger Bigfoot, basically is what that story says.
This is absolutely fascinating. I think most people are probably familiar with the Tule River one, but I never thought of the possibility that there could be other forms of these same pictographs found in different areas. You're saying the Blue Mountains of Oregon, and then another area in Oregon, some unnamed areas in California.
California, yeah. Yep. Is
the second Oregon, what is that in a similar geographic part of Oregon or completely different geographic area of Oregon?
It's in the southern part of the Blue Mountains, down in the Ochoco Mountains, where it's a little more deserty there. It's still a mountain range, but it's more in the Badlands of Oregon is the one we found there, which it's got 1,000 symbols on this one rock. And it's basically telling a story. But what's really cool about that one is it really caught my eye, and I thought this is the coolest part of this whole pictograph, is it has two rivers that come together, and it has two symbols of two different bears on there in different locations on the rivers. And then what it does is on one side, it has a large depiction of a bear claw, a footprint of a bear. It has that symbol there. And then next to it, it has a symbol of a Bigfoot track. So it literally points out the difference. We know the difference between the bear print and the Bigfoot print. And then on the other river, it has a depiction of, has the typical symbol of the Bigfoot along the river with deer there. So they saw Bigfoot hunting deer by this river. The other river on the other side of the fork is where there are a lot of bears. So beware. It's really interesting, the story that one tells.
Wow, this is absolutely blowing my mind right now. Oh, man. Are there even more instances of pictographs that have been found in Oregon as well that would contain Sasquatch pictographs in them?
Not that I know of. There's been some stuff like there's a Bigfoot face that was carved on a rock that was found near the Columbia River, but that's the only other one that I know of. I'm sure there are probably many out there, but they're probably hidden in the woods somewhere and nobody's just run across them yet.
Wow, man, it feels. Do you have pictures of what you found? Are these available on your website or YouTube channel at all? Or
yeah, they're on our website on squatchamerica.com.
Okay. We'll definitely have that linked in the show notes. Feels I'm probably just extremely late to this party is what it comes down to. But because I'm like, this is a really big deal, Scott.
Yeah.
Scott's, I've known about this for a while.
Yeah.
This is cool. I love this. Dude, this stuff gets me jazzed up. And oh, yeah. Okay. So how about this? Is there a catalyst event in your life that happened that really kicked things off? Is like, all right, now I'm going to take an RV around the U.S. with my wife. And really, is there something that happened to you that really got you on board with all this?
Absolutely. There is. I had mentioned I'd started that Facebook page and started getting stories from people. And up until that point, I was probably, after studying footprint casts, some of the famous ones from the past and some footprints that I had found, after studying those and noticing the morphology in it, because when you go through anthropology school, you have to literally take a human body skeleton that's in a box and put it together and name every bone in it. So you get to learn how humans are made and how the history of human development and all that things. So looking into all this stuff, I was like probably 95% sure these things existed. I always had a little bit of doubt in the back of my head until June of 2018. What had happened was we got 5 reports from 5 people that didn't know each other in the same area in the same week. And I'm like, that's where I need to be. So I was going out there. I had been out there for 2 days in a row, and I was going out for the 3rd day, and funny thing happened on the way to Bigfooting. There was my wife's, one of her friends, her dad was having a birthday, and his birthday wish was to go Bigfooting because he'd never done it before. So they contacted me and said, hey, can you take this guy out Bigfooting with you tonight? And I'm like, it's his birthday. And I'm like, sure, no problem. I'd never met the guy before that day. So he hopped in the truck with me. We drove up in the mountains, and we went hiking down this trail that I had checked out the prior 2 days, because that's where all these reports were coming from. And hiking along the trail, I smelled the worst smell I've ever smelled in my life. And I'm like, I've heard this described, but I've never experienced myself. Wet dog, garbage, and onions and skunk all together. It's a really bad pungent smell. So we stopped, and I'm like, oh my gosh, where's that coming from? And we're looking around in circles in the woods trying to figure out where this is coming from. So I probably did the dumbest thing on the planet, because I was new to it back in the day. So I just went, I growled off in the woods, and it mimicked me exactly. And that's when I saw this little head 200 feet down the hill from me, and this little tiny opening in the tree limbs swaying side by side. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a Bigfoot. And I got my camera up. I got one blurry picture of it, because that's the way it works. And then we heard a whistle off to our left, and it ducked into the woods and vanished. So I spent 3 days there. We went down to where it was at, and I found footprints where it was standing. I found 9-inch footprints and 16-inch footprints. And then, so I did all my archaeological stuff. I set my camera up on a tripod where I was holding it almost exactly and tried to get the exact spot. Shot a laser down through the trees, figured out where it was standing from the footprints, and where the laser hit, the 9-inch footprints was 6 foot tall. But the 16-inch footprints behind it, I thought, there was another one that I didn't see until I went back and until later on, even a couple years later, I got somebody who had the technology to really enhance the photo I had, and there was another face behind it, the adult. I can't tell you how tall that was because it was bent over looking up at us. So that's when I had a Native American, I told this story to a Native American elder, and he said, that's when Bigfoot stole your soul. I'm like, yeah, that's probably the case. So that was the pivotal moment when we decided to sell our house, buy an RV, hit the road. And up until then, I had this little group called Blue Mountain Bigfoot Research, and we turned it into Squatch America and hit the road nationally and started following up on these stories ever since.
Wow, that is fascinating. What do you think the phrase Bigfoot stole your soul means? How do you take that?
There's two different ways to take it in Native American cultures. One, okay, spiritually, like Bigfoot literally took my soul that day, and that's why I'm looking for him to get it back. That's been, I like to lean towards that one. I need my soul back, Bigfoot. I got to find you again. But another one is you just become obsessed with this to the point where you're going to give up everything and do it. So yeah, that's probably one of the two meanings that I could probably take from that.
It's extremely interesting. Is it possible to give a roundabout area, and this isn't something we talked about beforehand, but the area where the sighting took place, or is it an area where you give a nebulous region? Or
oh no, I can tell you where it's at. It's, if you go to the Blue Mountains, there's a little town in Eastern Oregon called Baker City, Oregon, and behind Baker City, Oregon, there's a road that goes out of town. It's called Pocahontas Road, and it goes up to this place called Marble Creek, and that's where I had my sighting. Now, this Marble Creek Road goes over top of the Blue Mountains, over the mountain on to the other side of the hill where this little town called Sumter is. Now, this area here it's called the Alps of Oregon. The highest peak is 10,000 feet. It's not an easy drive. You got to have a 4-wheel drive to get up over this mountain. So it's about halfway up on the Baker City side of the mountain. It's where I had my sighting. But it was also in a watershed area where you're not supposed to be. Same as the Freeman film back in the 90s was in the watershed area where people weren't supposed to be. I was walking the edge of it. I was legal. So I wasn't in the watershed area. But so this area, and it was above 5,000 feet. So one of the interesting things I found over the years when we're getting reports of Bigfoot, especially in the Blue Mountains and in the Cascades also, is most of the sightings are over 5,000 feet. That must be a line they draw. They live above that, probably because not many people go above that. Yeah, so that's where it's at. It's in Eastern Oregon, in the Alps of Oregon, outside of Baker City.
Remembering what you saw that day, would you describe it as something that was more ape-like in facial features, or maybe more human-like, or something completely different?
I totally would lean toward more human. It looked more like a person than it did an ape. Having, my background, let's go into what I think these are.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
This is my working theory. Granted, it's a theory, but from what I saw, if I had to picture what the skull looked like underneath the skin, because I've seen lots of humanoid creatures' skulls over the years, I would lean toward this is human, and I'll tell you why in a sec. This is human. It's just an older version of us that hasn't went extinct, and this is why. And there's not this missing link that everybody says they're looking for. If we go back into human history, it wasn't one thing turning into the other, turning into the other, turning into the other. That's not how it worked. And we know that through DNA even today now that really emphasize this theory that say humans started somewhere. There's always been a human. And no, we did not evolve from apes. In fact, there's a theory today that maybe apes evolved from us, not the other way around. But there was always a human back in history somewhere that started, and they adapted. So if you think about a group of humans in Africa 3 million years ago, as their population grew, the area they lived in couldn't sustain them. So this group moved over here, and then they moved again, and then they moved again over millions of years. By the time they got into Europe, their bodies have changed because they're in a different type of forest, different climate. They had to adapt. So their bodies changed over thousands of years. But they're the same people that started in Africa, if you look at it that way. They just look different. So at any given time in human history, there's been 5 to 6 types of humans that live together at the same time. We're Homo sapiens. But did you know we overlapped Homo sapiens with Homo floresiensis, which is actually newer than us? Homo heidelbergensis, Homo erectus, Homo nadali, and Homo neanderthal. There's 6 that overlapped with us that were still alive while we were alive. And here's a big shocker. Did you know that Neanderthals are still alive?
That I did. I know they've been able to find this is what I've heard, individuals with pieces of Neanderthal DNA. I think that's real. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. That is absolutely real.
Okay.
That is absolutely real. So Neanderthals came from France, and they came from the Acadian region of France. So they didn't go extinct. The French people bred them out. They're actually, we're talking back in the paleo times, but they are us. They are in us. So if you're French and you're from the Acadian region of France, which I am actually, 5% of my DNA is Neanderthal. And if you want to know Acadians, when they migrated to the United States in the 1600s, and they're the French people speaking people in Maine and Nova Scotia and Canada. And then some of them migrated around the Horn and landed in Louisiana, and the word Acadian got changed to Cajun. So if you wonder why Cajuns are a little off, is because they're part caveman. I'm Acadian French. My dad is full-blooded. I'm half Acadian French, Cajun. So we bred them out. So they're still alive. So why is today any different than it has been for the last 300,000 or 400,000 years? We've always lived together with another type of human, another adaptation of us. So why is today any different? I believe that these things are us. They are a human, an older version, or maybe even a newer version. It could be that too. But I would lean towards an older version of us that hasn't had to change or adapt because they're fine the way they are and have been that way for thousands of years.
Okay, so this is very interesting. I'm going to go down this road with you. So it's fascinating. So in that case, then, so let's say you get these reports of things like infrasound and really interesting things. Is that saying then that maybe we forgot how to do these things?
Or we lost it over the years. Yeah, so here's something very interesting. We get into the infrasound and the whistles and stuff. I have recorded whistles. I've got recorded whoops that I have recorded. And one of the really cool things I did is I took a little bit different path. My wife has her degree is in music, and she was a choir teacher and a vocalist and a voice coach. And her college professor, same, but with a doctorate, is into choir and singing and stuff. And I played these whooping sounds for him. And he about fell out of his seat. He goes, "Oh my gosh, I hear something that you probably don't because you don't do this every day." He goes, "These sounds are in 5 octaves, and humans can only do 3. I'm like, Okay, so we threw it in a spectrograph, took a look at it. Yes, they are in 5 octaves. What that means is they have one more fold in their vocal cords than we do. We have 2, they have 3. And so they have a higher and lower range of sounds they can make.
Okay.
And when I was talking to the college, professor about this, he goes, humans, some people are still born with those, but typically we lost them over the years when we started becoming civilized and didn't need to make those sounds anymore. So humans did at one time have the 3 vocal folds. So we have lost them because we don't need them anymore. We don't need our appendix anymore over the years when we started to become civilized and started doing agriculture and not, hunting and gathering anymore.
I wonder if this almost explains how sometimes you have witnesses that say it sounded like it was this and this at the same time.
Exactly.
Oh man, this is blowing my mind. This is awesome, dude. Wow. I can't remember where, but I have heard someone else mention the double fold. You said double fold in the vocal cords, right?
Yeah, they have 3 folds.
3.
We have 2.
3. So trifold. Wow, that's wild.
Trifold, yeah.
Man, I'm going to be thinking about that for a while.
So that just to add to that a little bit, that's why I don't go in the woods and whoop at night. Because they know we're human. We can't reach the octaves they do. They're like, oh, that's a person.
Oh, that's even crazier, dude. So yeah, like when so using that theory, when we do whoops, it's even more of a giveaway than using it's probably very similar. Yeah, we're here. Oh, that's crazy, dude. Unless you're playing an actual recording of a Bigfoot, then you can get away with it.
That's it. Yep.
So how do the reports of infrasound play into this theory then?
I think they do have infrasound because they have the ability to do it. I mean, they're not the only creatures on the planet that does that. Elephants, lions, tigers, there's a whole plethora of animals that have this ability. They use it as I don't know how else to put it, as a weapon. Because the reason tigers can do it or use it is that if you can growl so low that what you're growling at can't hear it, but they feel it, it actually shakes them to the core. You can put an animal into fight or flight or shock. So if you put something into a shock, it's going to be stunned for a moment. That gives me time to grab it. That's why tigers do it. It'll put their prey in kind of a shocked mode where it just stands there and doesn't know what to do. And that gives the tiger more time and ability to jump on it. It may be a leftover just hunting tactic that they use.
Have you ever experienced that yourself?
Me personally, no. Not that I can recall. Okay. No, I don't know if I've felt kind of eerie times in the woods. That could possibly be it, but I can't equate that because I just recently got a recorder that it records infrasound, so we can see if I start feeling weird in the woods, I can record it and see, is there infrasound happening now? But personally, no, I can't say that I have had an instance that did that. Now, I've had screams at night that are so loud and terrifying that it made the coyotes shut up. So that's a different thing, but no, I haven't had the infrasound that I can recall.
Was that in the Blue Mountains that you experienced that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Wow. I've experienced that out in Lane County near Oak Ridge, where it was like a scream / roar thing. It really freaked me out, dude. Yeah. Is weird. I'd love to hear it again though, but it was freaky as all get out. It's 3:00 in the afternoon. Yeah, that area is weird. So walk me through when you are driving around the US in your RV with your wife for Squatch America.
Mm.
What is your mission when I'm assuming you're going probably to different towns. Maybe you're going to different hotspots. So I guess I really don't know, but
Yeah, we tend to go to where there's like different hotspots across the United States. But the thing about what we do is a little bit different. My truck has our logo all over the side of it, and it says Bigfoot Research Team, and it's really audacious and stands out. And there's a reason I do that, is because we can't stop at a gas station without getting a Bigfoot report from somebody who's at the gas station gassing up, or go to the grocery store. We'll come out of the grocery store. There'll be two people standing next to our truck ready to tell us their Bigfoot stories. So that's what we use when we go into different areas. Oh, we belong to this like campground system thing that we bought into. It's called Thousand Trails, and they have 200 campgrounds across the United States. So we can stay 3 weeks at a time at each one of these. And that's what we do. We go park the trailer, spend the first week getting Bigfoot reports from people around the area. And then we spend the next couple of weeks. Our truck also has a tent on the top. It's an overlander. So we'll leave the trailer in the campground, and then we'll just go off into the woods and spend 2 or 3 days at a time following up on the reports we get in the area.
That's awesome. What is the craziest, let's say you're just driving to an area and you just, all of a sudden you find yourself in the middle of this like Bigfoot mystery. There's tons of reports and you're like, wow, things are just clicking. Have you ever experienced anything like that in a certain area?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We've run across it in a couple different times. Crazy enough, it's where we're at right now. We tend to follow up on Bigfoot reports in Texas in the wintertime because it's nice here. It's 72 today. Growing up in Eastern Oregon, I'm done with winter. But so we had that happen to us down here. We stopped at this little area outside of a place called Whitney, Texas. And I didn't think that would be, there was some Bigfoot reports like on the Bigfoot Mapping Project and the BFRO site in that area. But when we got there, oh my gosh, as soon as the community knew we were there, I mean, the guy from the newspaper called us, asked us to come down and do a story. They posted in the newspaper. We got tons of report from this one area. And so we went to this campground there. Believe it or not, it's kind of weird. Texas doesn't have a lot of national forests. Everything here is like almost private. But we did happen to find a guy who said, yeah, come camp on my land. I've got to see Bigfoot all the time. And so I went and camped on this guy's ranch, which is thousands of acres. And lo and behold, we found footprints down by the creek. It's kind of weird. So that was one that really stood out. And another one is close, if you're in the Cascades there's another time we went camping near Crater Lake. And we had fire crews stop when they saw the truck stop. Hey, we heard this last night. We had another guy saying, oh, yeah, I hear them every night. Go up this road, which led us into something we've been actively doing for 4 years now. I try to spend part of my summer up there. Is we found a spot. Now, this one I'm not going to give you quite details, but if you know where Diamond Lake is, it's in that area. There's a road. I'll even give you the road. It's called, oh my gosh, it just went out of my head. Oh my gosh. Anyway, maybe I'm not supposed to tell you that. But,
there you go.
Yeah. Wendigo Pass. That's what it's called.
Wendigo Pass.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Believe it or not. Yeah. So in this area, 4 years ago, after everybody's talking about this, we found this little pond. I'm not going to tell you where this is at, but we hiked up to this little pond, and the only way in is hiking. And we found 3 sets of footprints. We found 13-inch prints, 9-inch prints, and 6-inch prints. And this is something I really go into when I speak at a lot of Bigfoot festivals, and it's one of the things we talk about at Bigfoot festivals. But so that was 4 years ago. And we go back to the same area every year. We found tree structures. We've had a long distance sighting of one up on top of a mountain. We since then have found 21-inch print, So we've got mom, dad, and 2 kids. And we found our little guy again last year. We found his footprints near a different pond up there. And he's went from his 6-inch prints to 10-inch prints in 4 years. And we've been doing some off the cuff things. We've been putting out puzzles in the woods for them. We'll stack rocks like in a pyramid, or we'll actually use those kids' toys with the little round donut look things, and you stack them up on the stick and they form a pyramid. We put those in the woods. That's actually a cognitive test, by the way. So we've been putting those out in the woods and stacking the rocks up. They have been playing with them. They've been rearranging them in a way that it's intelligently done. It's not just deer knocking it over or whatever. So after we did that for a couple of years, when we went back into that area, we started finding rocks put on logs for us and arranged. 500-pound rocks that we couldn't rearrange. So I don't know if they're playing with, we're teaching them. I don't know what's going on with that, but that's an area that it's been a hot spot for us for 4 years now. And that's one of our major research areas.
Scott, oddly enough, so this show gets some weird electrical stuff, and sometimes the voice modulation, it almost sounds. And right when you start talking about moving huge rocks and stuff, it's like every time I'm like, I don't know if this is the government or if it's Bigfoot messing with my stuff. Oh, it's wild. But that's not surprising at all. I take a lot of reports from north of 58 in that area, like going west over to Oak Ridge and Dexter, and that whole area is just bonkers.
The word Wendigo in Native American terms is a bad thing. It's not a good thing. That's pretty interesting. It's interesting that I've interviewed like 75 tribes, and I got the names for these things. And it's weird that half the tribes is almost a 50-50 split. Half the tribes call them like benevolent brother, hairy man, the other people, stuff like that. But the other half call them like Wendigos or monsters, killers, cannibals. So I think there's good Bigfoot and there's bad Bigfoot. It's like they're good people and there's bad people.
Have you found tribes where they call them both, or it seems to be a one or the other type thing?
It seems to be a one or the other type thing. And it's primarily the southern tribes are the ones that have the bad words for them.
Oh.
The one like in New Mexico and in Texas here and Louisiana and down in Florida, their names for them tend to be, I wonder if the southern Bigfoot are just meaner. I don't know.
Going by the reports that I hear, I don't know. I feel like it might be a little bit more aggressive down there, but that's a discussion in itself. Do you ever go out in the Midwest, like Iowa, Nebraska, that part of the country at all?
Yeah, actually, there's the Omaha tribe in Nebraska. They have a really interesting relationship with the Bigfoot there, and in fact, they look to Bigfoot in that area as almost a shaman. And it's interesting. The tribal elders and like the medicine woman tells stories that they will take whatever plants that are ripening in whatever season, they'll take those and they'll go into the woods and they'll lay them out on a rock, and then they'll wait a few days, they'll go back, and then something will have removed some of them from the rock and left some of them there, and that's the stuff that works good for the medicines they need during that season.
Oh, that's really interesting. And that's north of Omaha, like where it's referred to as Satanga. Is that the same area?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Gotcha. Yep. Have you ever gotten anything directly from Iowa?
I haven't.
Okay.
We haven't spent a lot of time there either, so.
We don't have a lot going on. We have a little bit of weird stuff, but not a lot. So I can understand why you wouldn't. I have seen in the past where you guys will do Bigfoot town halls. Is that right?
Yes, we do. We do that as often as we can whenever we get into an area and we can hook up with somebody to set up a place and time and all that stuff. But yeah, we do that quite often. And that's where we're getting a lot of insight and reports from people in the areas that we're going to be in.
Can you take a few minutes to talk about what it takes to set up a Bigfoot town hall, or any advice that you have towards that?
Actually, it's a lot easier than I had originally thought it would to be. They said you need a little time to advertise it, and we try to set it. Like I said, we can spend 3 weeks in places. So what we try to do is get it set up immediately when we get somewhere, or if we can set it up a month or two ahead to get an idea. But basically, we just find places like that have meeting rooms. A lot of times they're bars, pizza parlors, places like that have these rooms in the back for meetings and things. And we'll, rent the space or whatever to do that. And then we'll try to advertise it in the local newspapers, on the local Facebook pages and things like that, and let people know that we're going to be there. And then if we can, we'll stick up a banner on the building if they let us, saying when it's going to happen. And we've had crazy results. It's a hit and miss, I can say that. But we've had one time we set up one in a little town called Cave Junction, Oregon. And we were expecting maybe 60, 70 people to show up. We had 280 show up. It was crazy. And then, the pizza parlor ran out of pizza that night. They were really thanking us. But it's really not a lot to it. But the most important thing and the hard thing to do is once you have the meetings is to get people to document stuff. We'll have a map of the area. We'll throw up on a table up front. And when people tell us their stories, we ask them if they can come up and mark it on the map, which really helps us a lot. And then recording it. We set up a video recorder and some audio recorders so we can get some good audio. Because when I first started doing these, I totally spaced that part. And I thought, they'll come in, they'll fill out this sheet for me. They won't, but if I can get them on video, I can remember the stories that way.
Okay, so that I think is that's a very good piece of advice there, because I found that with when I did a festival in Oak Ridge in July, it was overwhelming. I talked to people about their encounters for probably 24 hours in 3 days. It was nuts. I loved it, but you're writing stuff down on a map. But then if I had been able to have people record their story, that would have been very effective. Are these just for your personal archives, I would imagine then?
Yeah, we have a database that we put stuff in that helps us to track these things. One of the interesting things about the information we get from it, and one of the things I use it for, is I always try to get dates in at least months. That's the important thing. Because after doing this, we're on our 5th or 6th year doing this full time, is I put a lot of pins in maps. But if you got the dates on them, I've noticed that, hey, this area is hot in March every 3 years. This area is hot in June every other year. And that kind of gives me something to go on. If we're going to go research an area, I want to make sure it's when they're there.
That's interesting. You could almost figure out like migration times and stuff.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm still not sure about the migration thing. I think they stay within almost like a 200-mile area. I think they basically rotate crops. They're in like this part of it for 1 year, and then next year they'll be over here, and then next year they'll be over there, and then they'll come back to this 3 years later.
Do you have any criteria that need to be met in order for you to focus on a certain area, spend 3 weeks there, and try to set up a town hall?
Yeah, one of them is mostly if it's going to be in an area that there is like past activity. I can look on the BFRO site. I'm not going to go to counties that never had a Bigfoot report ever, like down in the deserts. In Arizona, there's not a lot of activity there, so that's the places we don't go. But I like to go to Dr. Jeff Meldrum has a theory that there's 3 Bigfoot in any 20 square miles of black bear habitat. So I kind of lean on that a little bit. So any areas that have black bears are generally Bigfoot areas, the same habitat. So we tend to try to lean towards staying in areas that there are black bears.
That makes a ton of sense. Out of the 200 and so people that showed up at Cave Junction, how many, or what's the percentage, would you say, of people there actually had an encounter to report?
Oh gosh, I would say at least half of them. And probably, I would say I would delete about 20% of those because some of them are like fairly outlandish. So I look for things that have commonality in Bigfoot reports, like the smell, the hair, the way the face looked.
Are there things, though, that you'll hear in a witness report that'll make you be like, I like what I'm hearing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said before, some of the commonalities, but the other ones is kind of really weird is watch their face and their arms. If they start getting goosebumps and their hair stands up a little bit and they start a little shaky in their voice, they had seen something that changed their life, and it still affects them today. So those are the ones I really take close attention to.
This is something that I'm trying to work through myself when I talk to people face to face, like you're talking about. How do you handle, sometimes when you talk to a witness, they can get back into that emotional state and it can really affect them. And it's like, how long do I want this person to be back in that state for? I've experienced a few and I was really taken back by it. This is way different than talking to someone over a phone.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I'm not really good at it. But, dun, 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 luckily, my wife is a licensed psychologist. So,
oh, well, there you go, man.
Yeah. And she's really good at forensic interviewing and things like that. So when they start getting really shaky, she takes over for me, and she kind of knows the limits. I don't want to put somebody through PTSD from doing this, but it helps to reassure them that you're here for them and that they're safe now and stuff like that.
Scott, it's been such a fascinating conversation with you. I do have another question for you here at the end.
Okay.
Let's say there's an individual and they're like, man, I really want to get out there and have a Bigfoot experience. Do you have things that you recommend people maybe to lean towards if they're going to go out and try to have an experience themselves? Or
yeah, one, do your research. One of the best tools that came out recently is the Bigfoot Mapping Project. It's an app you can download. Look on that and find the area that you want to go to has sightings. And secondly, look at the months. I don't care if it happened 20 years ago or last month. Look at the months, and that's where you want to go. And one of the other things that has worked extremely well for us is to go camping. I don't go knock on trees. I don't go whooping in the woods at night. We just go camping and make a spectacle of yourself. You're not going to hunt down a Bigfoot. You're not going to chase it down in the woods. Camo don't work. But if you get them curious enough to come see you, if they're curious, they want to check out the funny looking human people. So that's one of the things I do. I just go camping.
that's great advice. I just remembered one that I forgot. I apologize. This is for the last one. How do you record infrasound?
There's actually recorders that will record it.
Really?
In fact, there's even an app you can get for your phone, an infrasound recorder. The microphones will pick it up. Your ears won't, but it'll show you on a spectrograph. You can even download the app. It works fine. It'll show you on a spectrograph the infrasound that you're not hearing.
Okay, so it's as easy as that, just to start Googling looking on Amazon infrasound recorder, look at that apps, and they're out there. Yep. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Yep. All right, Scott, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to share what you've experienced over the years, and maybe listeners keep an eye out for their truck. You never know when you'll see them, but thank you so much for coming on the show. Do you mind taking a few minutes reminding listeners how they can keep up to date best with what you're doing?
Okay, one of the best things is follow us on YouTube. We do 3 videos a week, and that helps us out too with the views. So that's one of the ways we support this. So if you want to check out Squatch America on YouTube, we also have a Squatch America Facebook page, and we're also on X. So if you want to get a hold of us, you can go to our website, squatchamerica.com, and there's a contact form, and there's also a Bigfoot report form, or you can just email us at squatchamerica@gmail.com.
That's fantastic. So everyone head over to their YouTube account, subscribe, and then let them know that you came from over here. Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show.
All right. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Sean's wanting to come up. Let's talk to Sean.
Listen, I was on a patrol as a police officer, and it was a rural area. And I got a complaint that there was some kind of noise in the background of these people's places. And I get there, shine the light around, didn't see anything out of the ordinary. So I decided to take the back road that goes behind that place. And they say when I was seeing it around the corner, it was tall, and to me it looked blackish, but it was, I would say it'd be brown. About 8.5 feet tall figure crossing the road. And I never told anyone on the force and everything. They'll think I'm seeing stuff. But this is up in the Poconos in Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Do you ever get to hear of a lot of sightings there?
Let me look at my map real quick. I do have one individual back in 2002. His mother and mother-in-law reported seeing what looked like a large hairy figure in the woods near their home that looked like a big gorilla.
This makes sense, not to cut you off,
Yep.
but it was in 2001 when I was working.
Oh, wow. So that happened in 2001.
Yeah. And I would say it was around fall time. It's so hard perspective when the woods are dark, and usually when you shine the lights on the green trees, it's one thing, but when you're shining your lighting on brown trees, the forest just looks totally different.
Have you heard of other people having sightings like that in the same area?
We had about, I think it was maybe about 5 complaints.
Really?
Yeah, that people heard this ruckus in the backyard and everything. I don't. There was one time the trash cans were touched, but I never thought to go around again and start looking for footprints. Someone said it was a bear at one of our complaints, and there was broken branches in their backyard, like where the pines hang down. They were pushed out and snapped. Other than that, I can't recall anything else. This is about in 2001 I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So when you guys would get those complaints at the police station, what would you guys just brush them off, or what would you guys usually do?
It would be a report that we put a non-reportable, okay, where it's just kept inside the station.
Oh, okay.
A reportable stuff would be like a crime that happened or a car accident or something like that, where you're reporting something to the state. So this is all in-house type thing. And that we were just, because I served from 92 to 2002. And in the beginning, we didn't have computers in the cars or anything like that. I remember going on the computer as a floppy disk. I figure some of the data has been lost, or never, you'd have to dig them up in the paperwork and everything. And
Absolutely.
and guys wouldn't talk about this to each other. One guy did talk about it. He's saying what the complaint was and everything. But other than that, and he did it as a joke. But I took my sighting very seriously to myself. And I really did see something.
Would you ever want to see what you saw that day again?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
I never asked that question, but oh, of course. I became a believer right at that point in time.
Absolutely. It's good to hear about another thing that happened in that area around the same time. If people want to listen to that episode, it's 7:55 on my podcast, Bigfoot Society. But Sean, is this a conversation that I would be able to play on my Bigfoot podcast that I have?
Yeah, sure, bud.
All right. Thank you for coming up, sir. I appreciate you sharing what you experienced that day.
Okay, thank you.
Hi there. How's it going?
It's going well. How's everything?
Great. Are you coming up to share a Bigfoot story today?
Yeah, I have several, but they join together
Okay.
as one big experience. So I was going through this time when I was in my late teens. I was breaking up with a girlfriend, considering breaking up with her because things wasn't working out. And so I used to pray a lot and take walks in the national park that was close to my home. And matter of fact, I used to take walks with my dog in the daytime. And one day I went down to a certain facility on the other side of the national park and got hired with the state, with the feds, working with some type of a treatment plant, some type of federal steam plant or something like that. So I had that job, and it was a pretty cool job. But I still was going through things with contemplating my life and college and different things. But I still used to get up and take walks. I got to the point where I would walk in early morning. I started walking around 6 o'clock. It was still daylight, but it wasn't giving me the feeling I needed. It seemed like I needed something a little bit more. So I started walking a little bit earlier. Like I wanted to catch the sun. Like on the end of my walk, I would walk like 45 minutes through the national park, make a round circle and come back out, go in 2 miles or so and come on back out. So I get up at 4:45, 4 o'clock, 4:45, somewhere in there. And I used to take walks and I used to sing and pray to God, be saying my prayers and stuff like that, and walking and singing. And I used to have a lot of deer and animals through that place. And I got to the point where I used to walk through the park and the park would land. They had a golf course on one section of it where Fark would be on the golf course. And I used to try to make that my last little section, middle section of walking through. I would walk through that part and come on back out. That would take me about 25 minutes to walk on the backside of the golf course. And I used to walk on that place, and deer used to be standing there. I would walk right through the deer. They wouldn't, I guess they got used to me walking there in the middle of the night, when in the middle of the night, 4 o'clock. And they just stand there, and I walk right past them. They just look at me like, oh, okay, who is this? What is this? I guess I was so at peace with myself because I'm humming, singing, and not loud, just to myself. And I guess make my own songs up. And I used to hear this whistle. I thought it was like the male deer that was whistling. And the deers are here. They're not, you know what I'm saying? So it used to be a ridge where you go down, you can come down off the golf course, the top 9 or something like that, and you come down, and the woods was right there. And when I heard this thing, something just went through the woods real fast. Like I said, man, that's the biggest deer I couldn't really see it, but I heard it. It was crashing through the trees. But the other deer at the plateau up there, they wouldn't move. And so I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what that is. So I still used to walk through that place. But I started having these dreams, and the dreams would coincide when I walked through. walked through this place. I see myself in a dream walking through the same place, but I could see what's in the wood line. I couldn't see what's in the wood line because I'm in an open plateau, the golf course. And I see these, it's almost like human lions. They were like a pride. And they used to just stand there and look at me. It was like, someone would lounge like sideways, like a man, like you lay on the ground at a picnic. And they would just sit there and lay there. And some would stand up. And every time I walked through this place, I would have these dreams again, start having these dreams. And there came a time when I went through there one night, and right on the other side, they had a train track that would run through that place. Some kind of way it swings around to come back to those companies on the other side of the national park over there, the federal steam plant and water treatment, whatever. So this train used to deliver all types of chemicals and stuff like that. What they call it, black gold. There's some type of additive that you add to the water to make wastewater clean, and some type of coal that they used to produce with the black. The coal used to be grinded up to make the black gold. The black, what you call it, goes into potassium that goes into the wastewater treatment. So one particular night, as I was coming through there, I came over the plateau and looking down, I could see on the other side of the track, the train had stopped. And 6 guys was out, and they had their flashlight. I'm walking over here. They couldn't really see me because I'm still in the dark. But this huge animal they hit, the train had hit it, and it was laying out there. And it didn't look like a bear because I was like, oh, man, the train hit a bear. But the area of where I was walking, didn't have bears, didn't have any. Even though some old man said, hey, man, they got bears out here. When I got that job with I used to walk to work. Even though I had 2 cars, I used to meditate and kind of walk to work and be at work at 7, leave at 6. And take me about 40 minutes to walk through on the other side, shortcut, not through the whole national park, just a section of it. And they see me out there walking, and it scared everybody. Guys who are driving through, there's no lights out there. They see me walking, hey, Matthews, hey, man, what the heck you doing out here? They'll try to give me a ride. I said, no, man, I'm just meditating, just walking through. They're like, man, well, you pick a heck of a place to walk. I said, well, I live right over here on this side. They said, you drive? I said, yeah, I got 2 cars. I got a bike, motorcycle, and a bike. I just like to meditate and walk. So they used to tell me when I go to work, digressing, go to work, the old man used to see me. He said, man, I've been out here 32 years working at this place, man. He said, I came in one of the mechanic shops, and he looked at me. He said, I came in with some new young men, and we all young. We about 19, some a little bit older than me. We came in, about 4 of us, trying to get some parts to put on a certain tractor or something like that. He said, hey, you. I said, oh, hey, how you doing, sir? He like, Matthews. He said, yeah, you Matthews? I said, yeah, I'm Matthews. He said, this guy's walking through the park in the middle of the night. Man, you scare everybody. We're in cars, and you're walking like you're having the time of your life. And I just said, no, I just be meditating, man, thinking about a lot of stuff. He said, you must be breaking up with a girl. I like, oh, okay, that was part of it. Yeah, I said, yeah. He said, yeah, we know people do strange things when they're going through that love thing. I said, yeah. And so he said, hey, man, you got to be careful out here, man. We're down south, but hey, man, there's things out here that I can't really say. There's wolves, and I think there's bears because they look like bears. And he said, have you seen anything? I said, I hear stuff when I walk. He says, there's no lights out there on 3 miles of that place that you're walking. There's no street lights, pitch black. Not a light at first. Your next light is when you get on the other side. I said, I know. I said, that's the best part because I get real quiet and I can do my little meditation. I don't tell him all that, but I just told him, I said, yeah, it's real peaceful right there. So he said, you be careful now because, there's some things out here that if he tried to warn me. So come to find out, going back to the railroad track, I'm looking at this thing from the plateau. I'm on top of the plateau up there, looking down at these 6 guys with these flashlights. And this thing is stretched out not like a bear. It's not round. It's elongated. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty long. And it's long. It's not the shape of a man. It's a little longer, maybe about 8 feet long. And I'm looking at it, and I said, well, I don't want them to see me over here because I don't supposed to be in this part of the section of the park when the thing is closed. I got a They have a little gate that closed, but it's just two little rails that they just put together. And walkers or those who walk the trails, they know people are walking trails through there sometimes. So sometimes they'll just where you can just walk under it or walk over or walk around it because they're not blocking anything. You still don't have fences around. Just got it right on the road where you want to drive your car. A lot of people leave their car outside that particular area going by the golf course. So I have these dreams about these things, and all of a sudden, my nature changed. And it is strange because it's up until this day, my nature changed, and a lot of times I couldn't figure out why. I used to walk my dog. I had a German Shepherd and I had a lab that I used to walk sometime sometimes I take my walk, I walk by myself. I don't walk with the dogs because they distract me. But when I used to walk the dogs in the neighborhood, go through the neighborhood, all of a sudden all the dogs would jump the fence. All of them. And follow me. I would just take maybe a 20-minute walk and I have 8 dogs that jump the fence and get behind me and just start following me. And I was like, everybody looking at me like, hey man, are you letting these people dogs out the gate? I said, no, I'm just walking. I get to know them all. Sometimes I get to know their owners, but they see me walking, then they decide to take a walk with me. It got worse. It was worse than that. So I used to take walks and all of a sudden some more dogs, some stray dogs came out the woods and would walk with me. And one particular dog was so jet black and had this coarse hair. I rubbed him. I'm like, man, why your fur don't feel like a dog's fur? But he had these yellow eyes. And he decided to walk home with me too, with my dog. So this particular dog came to walk home with me. So he wasn't full grown. He was maybe about a year old. Pretty jet black dog with these yellow eyes. And so I bring him home. My dogs are in the yard. My dogs are scared for some reason. And my dogs are very aggressive. And my 2 dogs don't like each other at all. So they like walking together. They friends, but they like rivals. So in the yard, they never sit by each other. So I left them out in the yard. It's nice, warm weather down south. So these 2 guys I look in the backyard. They are hugged up to each other. Hugged up. And so this particular dog is at my door, and my sister is cooking like fried chicken or something like that at the door. She left glass screen door. And this dog is looking through the door and his eyes are glowing. This is a wolf. She said, and then my fiance at the time said, hey man, why you bring a wolf home? You got a wolf following you. I like, a wolf? They say, yeah, that's a wolf. I didn't really notice. My mind be somewhere else. And I'm looking at the thing. And the thing eyes is glowing with the light. My dog's eyes don't glow with the light. So they said, man, you got to get this dog out of here. Your dogs are scared. Look at your dogs. They're scared. They big dogs. They're scared of this thing. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is. So I said, give me some of that. Give me that chicken or something like that. I'm going to take him on back up the street and take him back to the woods where he came out of. So I walked the dog on back up there. And I started having those experiences all the time. Animals would come out and that's come from me just walking through the woods at night. And I don't know what I encountered. Or whatever pass I got some kind of pass because I've seen a few of those things. They'd be huge, but I put it off because I said nothing like that exists. You know what I'm saying? My mind wasn't on that. I would just see something, sometimes go through the woods, and I fell asleep one night at the park, and I woke up. I could have sworn there was a couple things around me because I was really going through a bad time, and they was over. I was on a picnic table just laying down. Because I was crying about, young men sometimes cry, I got to break up with this girl. I fell asleep, and when I woke up, it was maybe 11 o'clock at night. Fell asleep at about 8. The park had closed around 8:30. And I woke up, it was 11, jet black. I was hearing these sounds almost like voices going through the garbage because they had these garbage bins where people come and picnic. I'm thinking of raccoons. I ain't paying no attention. My mind is on other things. So I was making gibberish sounds. I was like, oh man, these raccoons. Let me get up and get out of here. What time is it? I couldn't see my watch, grab my little Bible, whatever I had, book I was reading, and decided to just walk on back up the hill. But I could have sworn it was something around me on that table. I guess I was so sad at the time. My sadness wouldn't let me see what was around me. You know what I'm saying? But I noticed that animals, when I would walk, just straight animals, even wild animals, would just come and follow me, get right beside me. Oh, where does raccoon come? Where does coyote come from? And they'll walk with me like my dog. So I just, okay. To this day, I moved up north. I still have that experience that animals will come and walk with me. So this one particular time, I was going to a baseball game, me and my wife. We rode our bikes up to the neighborhood, up the street, and we got to this baseball park, and it was packed, neighborhood baseball. And we got off our bikes as we were walking to the bleachers to sit down, like in the middle of everybody, close to the ground. We didn't go up high. We sat down, but we walked past this female duck, and this duck was like quacking. So we walked past her, and I walked on in, and about 15 minutes later, this duck came in into the park, the baseball park, where the bleachers are, and came up to me, and just quacking. I was like, and the people said, "Do you understand what's going on with this duck?" I said, "Yeah, she's looking for her babies." And I said, "Mama?" And she was like quacking, wow, and talking to me like she just got in my face. And me and my wife, hey, and everybody says, "Look, okay, do you understand what she's saying?" I said, "Yeah, her babies are gone. She had her babies around here, and she flew off or something scared her. So she want us to go and help find her babies." So I said, "Okay, go on, lead the way, Mama." And so when I said that, I got up, my wife got up, and 3 more people got up. And they walked with us. And I said, "Where was the last place you had them?" So she walked over there. She walked out the park. It's 5 of us walking with this duck. And she's walking. So make a long story short, the ducks had went under something, and we had to go in there and get them. But and then we walked back. They said, "How do you understand duck?" I said, "I don't understand. Why did that duck come through the park and walk past 100 people and stop at you?" I said, "I don't know. I don't know." I did experience when I came to Minnesota, I did run into another creature when I was getting off work. The snow was like maybe on that particular night, it snowed so bad. And as I was driving down the road, it was like the snow was so deep that you can't walk. So when they have those blizzards up here, the sidewalks would be 4 feet with snow, and the highways be worse than that because the snow plows would throw snow on the side of each street. So this particular night, I was getting off 1 o'clock, working at engineering place, building surgical beds and surgical robots. Got a job working up there, building that. So I'm looking, and this thing comes across the street, but the snow is already 5 feet deep, and it would be too deep for a dog or something like that. This big animal, as I was on the ramp, came across the ramp, and he was diving, like because the snow was so deep, he had to dive. He had to stretch his whole body out. Whoom. Whoom. He did 3 stretches, and he was across 3 snow piles. And this thing was so huge, man. I was telling my coworker, I said, "Y'all didn't see that?" We all was leaving at the same time. "Y'all didn't see that big creature crossing the road like that?" I'm like, "Oh no." They said, "Nothing can be walking out here, man." He said, the snow is 5 feet deep. And then he said, "The snow plows pile snow up on the side of the road up to 7 feet." I said, "Yeah, I know." But this thing was diving. He dove about 4 times. He was on the other side of the highway. And it was another little national park on that side up here in Minnesota. I have plenty of experience. And at a particular time that I was down there, someone was telling me about, Bigfoot had got hit by a tractor trailer truck, because he used to lay out there in the road, and all the truck drivers used to talk about it. And some of the drivers, people that I know, used to say, "Hey, y'all see that bear out there on the road?" I said, "No." They said the story has it that it used to come out and lay on the road because the road was cool at night. I guess it was a particular animal that was sick or something, like in the road used to be cool. And this animal would come and just lay out there on the cool of the warmth of the road. I don't know if the weather was damp, the woods were damp. Sometimes it's damp, and he'd lay out there on that dry ground or wherever. And he said one of the truckers hit the thing, and when they hit the thing, that was the same time I was down there. I just crossed over, and so it might have been the time that, because they said this particular Bigfoot that got hit, the truck driver stopped because he thought he hit a person. And he jumped out his truck and went down to look at it. And when we went down to look at it, he said that the thing was laying on the side or something like that. He got close to it and realized it wasn't a person. And he kind of had to come down the hill off the street. They got bluffs They got bluffs down there where I was at. Bluffs, you would park the truck up, come down the bluff, and then he seen the thing down there in the sawgrass. And as he was looking at it with the flashlight, he said, "Buddy, you okay?" And he realized it wasn't a person. And all of a sudden, another one came out, which was huge and scared him off. And he saw it. He said, this thing was almost 12 feet tall. And he said, I picked it up. He said, the thing picked it up and ran off, yelled at him and picked up the one that was hit and ran off toward the golf course. So I guess that might have been the one I saw, because the trains go so slow. There's no way in the world the train would have hit that particular Bigfoot. And I just said, those trains only go like 5-10 miles per hour coming through here. So I said, what is that thing laying on the side of the golf course for? So I calculated my time. I realized that was the same time that they said that one was hit by a truck. So I don't know. They laid it out there trying to get it help. I don't know if the thing wanted humans to help it or something like that, and laid it out there where a train could see it or something like that. So I calculated the time. I said, oh, okay, that's the same time I used to walk through the national park, and they was telling me not to walk through there. Yeah, so I got strange stories. There's an Indian reservation over there, and some of everything out there. And so to this day, I used to sit out there and hear strange noises, but I never equated to anything, because I didn't believe in Bigfoot. So I didn't believe in Sasquatch. When you just have your antennas up and to be aware of what's around you. And that's the only place I used to see believe it or not. I don't tell nobody about it because they said it's rare, very rare. I used to see the ivory-billed woodpecker, because I used to sit on those benches. Yeah. I used to sit them, those cedars out there and those pines out there. I used to see them all the time, and I thought they were reciprocated woodpecker, because they look alike until they fly off. One used to fly off and you can see the whites on his back, and they're down there. I didn't tell nobody about it because they said, we're looking for that woodpecker. And I just, oh, okay, that's in such a secluded area. No wonder they can't find that thing. Is up on a plateau. And if it is any, I used to see them come on land right on the trees and peck with that beak, but they were like rebuilt, a white beak and everything. And then when they fly, it looks strange from the back, because it's almost like an insect, but because they got the white, they will fly real fast to the next tree, large tree and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff down there. I just don't tell you what national park it is, because I just want to be at peace for people to go down there. You know?
I was actually going to ask you, so it sounds like we're not able to share what national park it was that you saw the train hit the Bigfoot there.
Yeah, but I think that's the same animal I think the other Bigfoot laid it out there for it can get some help, because I just read the train go for only 5 miles coming through that national park. They can't go too fast because of they got a station on the other side where they unload the trains and bring all those chemicals up to the steam plant and to the waste treatment on the other side, on around the bend. So they kind of stop and unload whatever, and then take it on up around the bend and take it back up around about 3 or 4 miles and come back. They don't take the whole train. 120 cars don't go all the way up. They kind of park it down at that station down on the other side. And I can say what it is because it's with the Indian reservation. Excuse me. And it's down there where Elon Musk is at right now. It's over there at Memphis, down on the other side of the Arkansas-Memphis bluff, over there where the Allen Steam plant and the water treatment that's very secluded, but it's a golf course and it's camping grounds out there, but very few people come on that back end because they put that steam plant out there. But it's very gorgeous out there. They got a golf course and everything out there, but I think they closed that off because people had started seeing the animals. So they closed that golf course off and try to let that grass grow over. And I said, why would they close off? Yeah, they had to close it off. They didn't fence it off. They just said it's closed. Quite a few golfers started seeing them over there, and the reports were getting off, so they were trying to keep it where I guess the animals can live in peace, because that's probably part of the funding that goes with the national park. They know certain creatures are there, so they'll shut down a beautiful golf course for the sake of keeping those things, and lots of deer, lots of turkey, lots of animals, so they had plenty to eat, a lot of water there too, with a lot of fish. Bass and bluegill and stuff like that. A lot of berries, wild raspberries and blueberries down there that was growing wild. The cinnamon, so trees, tons of trees of cinnamon. So I can see why if there were Bigfoots there, I see 200 or 300 cinnamon trees in the fall. They get ripened around September, October, those specimens. Plenty of deer, plenty of turkey, plenty of fish. I used to go back there and fish and catch a mess of fish. I wouldn't take them all home, but there's times I'd catch 200 fish. I'd let them go, most of them anyway. Quite a few beavers, a lot of coyotes. I was sitting on a tree one time. I was like this with my back turned on the ground, and here come a wolf. And I said, the old man's telling the truth. It was a beautiful wolf, man. He was darker color. He almost looked like a German Shepherd. He wasn't a German Shepherd. I was like, man, this is German Shepherd. I realized a German Shepherd. Maybe about a 1-year-old. He was walking toward me. He didn't see me because I was still. He walked about 5 feet, about 10 feet in front of me. Then he just made a beeline. He didn't run. He just like, a human. Boop, walked right back into the deep woods. I said, man, you're gorgeous, beautiful. I almost had a bluish color. Like, man. I said, man, that old man's telling the truth about what's out here. And my wife and I saw cougars. She said, I was driving around the back end when I was in the car. She said, man, you see that? I said, see what? She said, you see a big yellow cat in the tree? I said, yellow cat? She said, it looked like a cougar. I said, oh, okay, it probably is. I said, cat's just going to climb up a pine tree like that or whatever it was climbing. She said, it was just right there. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. There's some of everything down there.
Hey, thanks for coming up. Is this a story I could share on the Bigfoot podcast that I have?
Yeah, if it's interesting, it don't seem like I have much to offer. Just my
I think
experience,
it's interesting. Yeah.
Oh,
But hey, thanks
all
for
right.
coming up, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Okay, you have a good one.
Before we wrap this episode, I want to say something directly to a very specific group of listeners. If you're in the military, any branch or forces, and if you've seen something that no one can explain, or if you're a national park ranger or forestry worker who's been told to stay quiet, or if you're a pilot who's seen something strange down on the ground, or if you're with the FBI, a federal agency, or working intelligence, and you stumbled upon something you're not allowed to talk about, and if you're a firefighter, paramedic, or search and rescue responder who's heard screams or found tracks that didn't make sense, if you're in the logging industry, on a remote oil field, or a trucker with government contracts, and you've had something happen that you've never told a soul, and if you're a biologist, a wildlife specialist, or a field researcher under contract who has found evidence you're not allowed to report, if you're a pastor, a missionary, or someone on a spiritual retreat, and you saw something that shook your faith, or if you work in the shadows, CIA, NSA, or anything with clearance, and you've seen what the public hasn't, then I want to talk to you. Even if it's anonymous, you can reach me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. The world needs to hear what you've been forced to carry alone, and you're not alone. You've got the story. We've got the mic. See you in the woods. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bigfoot Society podcast. Every encounter we share reminds us that the world is bigger and stranger than we think, and that the truth is often hiding just beyond the tree line. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe to the channel on YouTube, hit the bell so you don't miss the next episode, and share this with a friend who's into mysteries, monsters, or the unexplained. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcast, please follow the show there and leave us a 5-star positive review, because all of that helps more people discover the show. And remember, if you or someone you know has had a Bigfoot sighting, please, I'd love to hear from you. So email me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com and let's start the conversation. If you haven't gotten a chance yet, check out our membership community over at www.bigfootsocietypodcast.com. And that's where you can hear tomorrow's episode today, early and ad-free, and members-only episodes every week. Also, it's a place to connect with other people that are into the Bigfoot subject as much as you are. Thanks again for following along with the Bigfoot Society. Until next time, keep your eyes open, trust your gut, and never stop asking what else might be out there. And see you in the woods.